when the mitochondria can't make energy, they start to break down the scaffolding. They'll do anything to find sources of phosphate. And think of it this way. Picture being in a log cabin in the dead of winter, and you start to run out of firewood. And so you start taking apart your log cabin so you can burn fire in the firewood. And that's what's happening inside the mitochondria. It's breaking down nucleotides, and the final nucleotide that's left is it's called xanthine, and then xanthine becomes uric acid. And uric acid, when it's in our blood, it's considered an antioxidant. When it's rising in our cell, it's a pro-oxidant, and it's wreaking havoc. And that's where the real crisis is taking place. The irony of this whole thing, and I think you'll find this fascinating, and why your listeners are benefiting from your product, and I've got one, and there's several out on the market. But the point is, I was stunned when I found an article from the 1980s that indicated that copper blocks the polyol pathway. So that's how our ancestors got away with it. They weren't being exposed to glyphosate. They weren't being exposed to high fructose corn syrup. They weren't being exposed to the level of antibiotics that we are. And so their copper status was not as compromised as ours is in the modern era. And I'm not sure people realize that copper is the target, but it is, because you can't make energy and you can't burn fat without it. And so what happens is when the beta oxidation enzymes can't work, the signal goes over to the nucleus, start what's called fatty acid synthesis. It's the FAS gene, fatty acid synthase. And what it does is it makes fatty acids. And it's really good at it. And it starts to make triglycerides and related lipids, and they start to build up in the liver. And that's why it's called fatty liver disease.